Braja Janaranjana Jaya Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavalabha Jaya Giri-Varadhari Jaya Giri-Varadhari Jaya Shoranandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Gauda Nitai, Gauda Nitai, Gauda Nitai, Jaya Gauda Nitai. Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Jaya Krishna Balaram. Jaya Radha, Shama Sundar Radha, Shama Sundar Radhe. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. Jam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Stotara Satashi Shrimad Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj ki Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai Gau Premanandi Hari Hari Bol Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschacha Deshatarane Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Narang Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Nastapreshu Abhadreshu Nityang Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavaduttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. Reading Srimad Bhagavatam. This is Canto 10, Chapter 35. The gopis sing of Krishna. Text 8 to 11. So I'll chant the verse, you can repeat. Anucaraiḥ samanuvarṇita-vīrya ādi-pūruṣa ivācala-bhūtiḥ vana-caro giri-taṭeṣu carantīr veṇunāhvayati gāsa yadā vana-latās tarava ātmani viṣṇuṁ vyañjayantya eva puṣpa-phalāḍhyāḥ praṇata-bhāra-viṭapā madhu-dhārāḥ prema-hṛṣṭa-tanavo vavrishyusma darśanīya-tilako vana-mālā divya-gandha-tulasī-madhu-mattaiḥ ali-kulair alagu gitam abishtam, adriyan arhi sandhita-veṇuḥ, sārasa-haṁsa-vihaṅgāś, charugita hrita cetasa etya, harim upasata te yata chitta, hanta milito drisho drita mauna, you have word for word? Anucaraiḥ, by his companions. Samanuvarṇita, being elaborately described. Vīrya, whose prowess. Ādi-pūruṣa, the original personality of Godhead. Iva, as if. Achala, unchanging. Bhūtiḥ, whose opulences. Vana, in the forest. Charaha, moving about. Giri, of the mountains. Taṭeṣu, on the sides. Carantīr, who are grazing. veṇunāhvayati, with his flute. Anucaraiḥ, calls. The cows. Saha, he. Yadā, when. He, indeed. Vana-latās, the forest creepers. Tarava, and the trees. Ātmani, within themselves. viṣṇuṁ, the Supreme Lord Vishnu. Vyañjayantya, revealing. Iva, as if. Puṣpa, with flowers. Phala, and fruits. Adya, richly endowed. Praṇata, bowed down. Bhāra, because of the weight. Viṭapā, whose branches. Madhu, of sweet sap. Dhāra, torrents. Prema, out of ecstatic love. Hṛṣṭa, hair standing on end. Tanavo, on whose bodies. Trunks. Viṣṇuṁ, they have rained down. Darśanīya, of persons who are attractive to see. Tilaka, the most excellent. Vana-mālā, upon his garland made of forest flowers. Divya, divine. Gandha, whose fragrance. Tulasī, of the tulasī flowers. Madhu, by the honey-like sweetness. Mattaiḥ, intoxicated. Ali, of bees. Kulair, by swarms. Alagu, strong. Gitam, the singing. Abhishtam, desirable. Adrian, thankfully acknowledging. Yarhi, when. Sandhita, placed. Venu, his flute. Sarasi, in the lake. Sārasa, the cranes. Hamsa, swans. Vihaṅga, and other birds. Charu, charming. Gita, by the song of his flute. Hrita, taken away. Chetasaha, whose minds. Etya, coming forward. Harim, Lord Krishna. Upasata, worship. Te, they. Yadā, under control. Chitta, whose minds. Hanta, Milita, closed. Drisha, their eyes. Drita, maintaining. Mona, silence. Translation, purport by the followers of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. We'll do this together. Krishna moves about the forest. We'll do it again. Krishna moves about the forest in the company of his friends, who vividly chant the glories of his magnificent deeds. He thus appears just like the Supreme Personality of Godhead, exhibiting his inexhaustible opulences. When the cows wander onto the mountain sides, and Krishna calls out to them with the sound of his flute, the trees and creepers in the forest respond by becoming so luxuriant with fruits and flowers that they seem to be manifesting Lord Vishnu within their hearts. As their branches bend low with the weight, the filaments of their trunks and vines stand erect out of ecstasy of love of God. And both the trees and the creepers pour down a rain of sweet sap, maddened by the divine, honey-like aroma of the tulsi flowers and the garland Krishna wears. Swarms of bees sing loudly for him. And that most beautiful of all persons thankfully acknowledges and acclaims their songs by taking his flute to his lips and playing it. The charming flute song then steals away the minds of the cranes, swans, and other lake-dwelling birds. Indeed, they approach Krishna, close their eyes, and maintaining strict silence, worship him by fixing their consciousness upon him in deep meditation. Purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has made several illuminating comments on these verses. He gave the analogy that just as when householder Vaishnavas hear a Sankirtan party approaching, they become ecstatic and offer obeisances, so the trees and creepers in Vrindavan became ecstatic when they heard Krishna's flute and bowed low with their branches and vines. The word darśanīya-tilako in text 10 indicates not only that the Lord is the most excellent to see, but also that he decorated himself with attractive reddish tilak taken from the mineral-rich earth of Vrindavan forest. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti also points out that tulsi, although exalted in many ways, is not normally considered an exceptionally fragrant plant. However, early in the morning, tulsi emits a transcendental fragrance that ordinary people cannot perceive, but that transcendental personalities fully appreciate. The bees who are privileged to swarm about the flower garlands worn by the Supreme Personality of Godhead certainly appreciate this fragrance. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti quotes from the Bhagavatam to the effect that the most fragrant plants in Vaikuntha also appreciate the special qualifications of Tulsi Devi. The word sandhita-veṇuḥ in text 10 indicates that Lord Krishna placed his flute firmly upon his lips, and the melody emanating from that flute is certainly the most enchanting of sounds, as the gopis describe in this chapter. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitang Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. I'm going to read the translation again. So beautiful. Krishna moves about the forest in the company of his friends who vividly chant the glories of his magnificent deeds. He thus appears just like the Supreme Personality of Godhead, exhibiting his inexhaustible opulences. When the cows wander onto the mountainsides and Krishna calls out to them with the sound of his flute, the trees and creepers in the forest respond by becoming so luxuriant with fruits and flowers that they seem to be manifesting Lord Vishnu within their hearts. As their branches bend low with the weight, the filaments on their trunks and vines stand erect out of the ecstasy of love of God, and both the trees and the creepers pour down a rain of sweet sap. Maddened by the divine honey-like aroma of the tulsi flowers on the garland Krishna wears, swarms of bees sing loudly for him, and that most beautiful of all persons thankfully acknowledges and acclaims their song by taking his flute to his lips and playing it. The charming flute song then steals away the minds of the cranes, swans, and other lake-dwelling birds. Indeed, they approach Krishna, close their eyes, and maintaining strict silence, worship him by fixing their consciousness upon him in deep meditation. Wow. So, by the mercy of the pure devotee, Srila Prabhupada, many, many pure devotees, but Srila Prabhupada, specifically empowered by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, came to bring us back home, back to Godhead. And reading throughout the Bhagavatam, I know that the 10th canto is very confidential, but throughout the Bhagavatam there's many beautiful, wonderful descriptions of the devotees and of the highest perfection of love. So this material world is considered the prison house, the place of birth and death, ignorance, passion, envy, lust, greed, duplicity. So many characteristics are there, and we're covered over many, many layers due to our own karma activities and mental speculations. We've gone through so many lifetimes, up and down, Brahmanda Brahmite Konyu Bhagyavan Jeev, Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Beach. And trying to mentally figure out or hearing the philosophical explanations of scientists and philosophers and religionists, people's speculations, Darwin or Freud or Nietzsche, this one and that one. So many people are taking shelter, looking for guidance. People are looking for guidance. So Prabhupada came at the right time. Srila Prabhupada, in the very early days, as we mentioned many times, in 1969, 70, 71, he put out the Nectar of Devotion, Upadeshamrita, where Rupa Goswami, who he personally taught, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, direct disciple, Rupa Goswami, very educated, high profile, but he was empowered and instructed by Krishna to describe what is pure devotional service, how to come to that mood of what the gopis had. They wanted nothing else. And of course it's explained that Krishna actually had the rasa dance with the gopis in their spiritual bodies, while the husbands thought that they're home doing what they're supposed to be doing in a family relationship. But actually, Parikshit Maharaj was questioning, well, why is it? Because when Krishna appears, Paritranaya sadhunang vinashaya chadushkram dharmasya, he's come to reestablish religious principles, and by his behavior people copy or imitate. So why would he act in such a way that seems against the Vedic rules and regulations and the basic principles of how people should act in human society? But this is all the pastimes of the Lord. The ignorant, they'll not understand, they'll criticize regardless. Just like it was described here that Tulsi Devi is not known to be a fragrant, overwhelming flower, but in the early morning in particular, for those who are transcendentalists, they appreciate this Tulsi Devi in such a unique way. Just like we're reading today in the 3rd canto, how the 4 Kumaras were approaching Vaikuntha, and Jai and Vijay, they forbade them from coming in, and there was an exchange. They became angry, the 4 Kumaras. How is it that you're, what kind of people are you in Vaikuntha, stopping original sons of Brahma, and they're considered very, very elevated. But at that time, they were still as Brahmavadis on a transcendental platform. But Krishna immediately appeared on the scene with his lotus feet and his garland with Tulsi. Tulsi was there. And the aroma of the Tulsi plant and the beauty of Krishna's lotus feet completely changed their mind and changed their very existence. And even though they cursed Jai and Vijay, they were lamenting that how is it that we could possibly curse these devotees who are engaged in service? Man, make a long story short, it's a beautiful chapter. Lord says, I arranged everything. I arranged that you come here to this gate, and that Jai and Vijay forbade you, and you cursed them. Because the Lord has all propensities, and fighting is one of the Lord's propensities also. So we're always fighting, imitating that propensity. But who will fight with Krishna in Vaikuntha, the spiritual world? And so we're not just speculating. In the Bhagavatam, it describes that the Lord, he sends his devotees, because he doesn't fight with ordinary people. So Jai and Vijay, his personal doorkeepers, he sent to this world for that purpose. But we can't try to understand all the details. But the 4 Kumaras were praying to the Lord, please free us from the modes of passion and ignorance, because obviously we were motivated by these modes of material nature so that we acted in such a harsh way to curse the devotees. There were many, many lessons there that one who's engaged in devotional service and giving his heart and mind, even though comes from a bad background and may even have still some bad habits, one should not consider him a low class or unqualified, just like previously, even 500 years ago, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Haridas Thakur, he was given the first plate of offering by Advaita-charya, and Haridas said, "Why are you giving it to me? I'm just a low-born, I'm not even a high-class birth." But Advaita-charya explained, "You are better than, thousands of Brahmanas by your behavior, by your attachment to the Lord's holy name, by your love and devotion." So it's not by, even though he would not visit the Jagannath temple, Lord Jagannath, in the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, personally came to visit him. And even Sanatana Goswami didn't want to follow the regular route to the temple, thinking that he might disturb the Brahmanas, so he took the hot path along the hot sands, and burned his feet. So there are many examples of devotees' humility, but at the same time, the importance of those who are attached to Krishna, the sound of Krishna's flute. Here we're describing about Vrindavan Dham, how not only the creepers, the plants, the ducks, the swans, the cranes, all living entities. It's hard to think, we're thinking that, oh, human beings, we're exalted. We have a human spirit soul. The dogs and the birds, they just have animal souls. No. Every living thing, every living animate or inanimate living being is an eternal servant of the Supreme Lord. We're all servant of the servant of the servant of the Lord. And we all have different identifications and different ideas of how to achieve happiness in this material world. And most work very hard in material world to get money, to establish family, and all the things that we think will bring us ultimate happiness. Because we do have all the opulences of Krishna. We live with Krishna in the spiritual kingdom. Many times we question, how is it one can fall from Vaikuntha? No one falls from Vaikuntha. So these things are difficult to understand from our very limited spiritual understandings. But it's important, first of all, to have the association of the pure devotee. Just like Narada Muni, he explained that by serving the transcendentalists who were describing, glorifying Krishna in the morning, in the evening, and taking prasadam, that simply by this hearing of Krishna's pastimes, remembering these pastimes and reciting these pastimes, that even though we may not be pure in mind and pure in heart, it has a medicinal effect. That the sound vibration of Krishna's name, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. But I'm so fallen, what will the name do? I have so many bad qualities. That's okay, just keep chanting, keep hearing. And of course, it takes time for clearing. Someone may, like Prahlad Maharaj, simply by Narada Muni speaking the Bhagavat to his mother, he heard in the womb. And as a little child, he was a pure devotee. Dhruva Maharaj, because of his intense desire to achieve a material goal, but still he was directed properly that you worship Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, performing austerities and actually fixing his mind with determination and enthusiasm. It's not that, okay, we're hearing in the morning, we do a little kirtan here in the evening. But a devotee, just like Srila Prabhupada, we heard so many beautiful wonderful pastimes of Srila Prabhupada yesterday. He was always busy for the purpose of Krishna consciousness. If someone would come, I mentioned last time, I think it was Harvey Cohen, or someone wanted to speak to Prabhupada. He said, Prabhupada is late, maybe you're tired. No, I can, all night long I can speak to you. And sometimes devotees would restrict visitors to come and see Prabhupada. Prabhupada wanted to keep an open door policy and preach to as many as he possibly could. And so we have to be enthusiastic for this process of Krishna consciousness as Srila Prabhupada has given. Not only has he given us Bhagavad Gita, nectar of devotion, nectar of instruction, the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who's Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Goratvashe Namaha. He's in favor of the brahmanas and protecting the cows. And unless we bring human society to this Brahminical level, then we have a body of just legs, maybe some bellies and arms, but no head, no guidance, no brain. And Krishna is the director. Krishna is the original spiritual master. So we're bypassing all the entrapments of impersonal realization, or this philosophy and that philosophy, karma mimamsa. You know, instead of speculating or just working really, really hard in this world thinking to achieve success, Srila Prabhupada is giving us the essence of the Goswamis, studying of all the scriptures. We don't have to venture and just become reading so many books, but we have so many already. If you, even one line of Srimad Bhagavatam, when I was saying Narayana, I said, I'm probably going to forget the last line, and I said, and Krishna just blocks it, you know. It's like Krishna, sarvasya chahang hridisana vishto matat smritir jnanam apohanam cha. Krishna is everywhere, in every atom, but he's also specifically in the heart of every living being. Krishna is sitting there like two birds on a tree. One bird, which is the jiva soul, ourselves, we're eating the fruit. We're trying to enjoy. So this body was given by Mother Nature under the instruction of Krishna. Krishna is provided the whole material world, the heavenly planets, the middle planetary system, the hellish planets, 8,400,000 species of life. Why are there so many varieties of life? So many bugs and insects and animals and trees and birds, so much variety. Oh, it just happened by nature. What is nature? Mayadhyakshena prakriti suyate sacharacharam. Krishna, he's provided a space, just like the government provides a prison house. There are first-class prisoners with some liberties and some ability to get a little sunshine, maybe bring the library books around to the criminals. Then there's a general class of prisoners. Then there are those in solitary confinement due to being really obnoxious and a cause of threat to others. They're kept confined. So human life, this human form of life, is the opportunity to question and ask, who am I? Who is God? What is this world about? Why am I here? What is the purpose of my life? How do I stop the sufferings? What are sufferings? Old age, disease, death. I noticed something, so many news clippings. Scientists finally think they figured out why the hair turns gray. Okay, that's great accomplishment. You figured it out. But no one in this material world has figured out how to stop death, old age, diseases. They're rampant everywhere. And that's not our nature. That's not our background. We're meant to be with Krishna, to play with Krishna. Just as I questioned yesterday how Prabhupada, upon arrival in Boston, he wrote beautiful, two poems. He wrote a beautiful poem saying how he misses being in the groves of Braj and with all the cowherd boys. And Shruta Kirti tells me Prabhupada often says, I like the cowherd boys. And this is just a glimpse that we can go home, back to Godhead. But if we want to achieve anything in this world, it takes determination, enthusiasm, perseverance. You have to apply yourself. You can't just sit around and hope that the PhD degree or the master's degree will show I never went to one day of school, It doesn't happen like that. Of course, we're expecting Krishna's mercy, even though we're not qualified, expecting the blessings of Krishna to go back home, back to Godhead, even though we have so many faults. Rupa Goswami in the Nectar Devotions describing how all his disqualifications, but then again he's saying, if only I had millions of ears and millions of tongues to chant the Lord's name and appreciate the sound vibration. But then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying that I have no taste for the holy name. I'm so unfortunate. All the potency of your energies, your yoga, maya, everything, all the energy of the Lord is present, of course, everywhere, but specifically in His holy name, because this awakens our remembrance. So Srila Prabhupada created his International Society for Krishna Consciousness. In the International Society for Krishna Consciousness is hearing about Krishna, chanting Krishna's glories, serving Krishna's lotus feet, worshiping the Lord, offering prayers, meditation, ultimately full surrender. Just like the gopis, they fully surrendered. They were not interested in family and social convention or, what are my parents going to think? They knew they were in trouble, but they didn't care. They were only simply in love with Krishna. Not that we become irresponsible. We have to actually not imitate, but we have to follow. If you're thinking all day of Krishna, Krishna's going out with the cows and the cowherd boys, and feeling, maybe he'll be hurting his feet while he's walking in the fine sands, and so much will happen. And then anticipating, when will Krishna come? They had their higher residences or towers, and Mother Yashoda find the tallest of the gopis to stand the highest place to see when Krishna is coming back with the cowherd boys, so they can see his beautiful glance and his smile and the dust of the cow's hoof prints. And the whole experience of the Brijabasis is that they had intense love for Krishna. And that's already there, this Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem Sajikabanoy, that this love for Krishna is existing in each and every one of us, but it's covered over. It's covered over due to desires to enjoy this material world, not recognizing that we're Jivara Swarup Hoy Krishna Nitya Das. We're servants of Krishna. And despite the exalted qualities of being a representative, Shakti Vaishavatar of the Lord, many examples, but yesterday we heard a beautiful example. You have these materialistic people who are criticizing that, you're spoiling religion by giving this to, Western people or people who are low-born, people who are not Brahmanas, unqualified, and you ruin, just like in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all the Brahmanas complained to Chankazi that this Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he's not following the reading of scripture and following the ceremonious rules and regulations which are recommended in the scripture. He's just singing, dancing, and chanting. He's going to spoil everything. And so we know the history and how Lord Chaitanya dealt with that. When Srila Prabhupada was being reprimanded and chastised, but Prabhupada just stood quietly with head down. It's like almost when he was Harinama, 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 Eva Kevalam, Kalua, Nasteva, 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 Gatiranyata. When Prabhupada would see the degraded condition of the populace and how they're going into the hellish planets, degradation, then he would have tears and cry. So naturally, you feel sorry for these ignorant people who are not understanding, just like Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati and Bhakti Vinod Thakur very strongly preach, that it's not simply being born as a son of a judge that one becomes qualified to be a judge, or being the son of a Brahmana that one is a Brahmana. It's by qualification and work that if one is worshiping the deities, is chanting the Lord's holy name, eager to hear about Krishna's pastimes, there's a price to pay for everything in this world. If you want something valuable, you have to pay a high price. And what is more valuable than going back to the spiritual kingdom and awakening our love for Krishna? And what is that price? Lolium, intense desire to have it. Although you see, it's almost insurmountable because of all my bad qualities. I have lust, I have anger, greed, ignorance, envy, jealousy. Oh, this person is so good at that, and I feel many times on Sankirtan we used to get that way. If Krishna is holding back the mercy, no one's taking the books, and everyone's telling you, get lost, don't bother us, and you feel, what am I doing out here? I'm useless, I can't do a thing. And then we see the person just down, we're working together, we had certain designated spots, and he's doing book after book, and it seems like everyone likes the way, he has a magnetic attraction about him. People are just mesmerized. And it's like Krishna's in control, and somehow or other, he may also again turn, not that he's whimsical, but it's also a reciprocation with our mood and our intention of service and our desire to become Krishna conscious. Then sometimes, very eloquently you're speaking, all the good things come out, you remember everything, or with effortlessly, you're performing your service in a very joyful mood, and people are so happy and ecstatic. How did that happen? Just 5 minutes ago, I couldn't sell a book to anyone, and people were completely disturbed by my existence. And now people are mesmerized, thinking that, oh, this is, you Krishna people they always want to offer jobs to devotees when they see them on Sankirtan, because their determination and their upbeat enthusiasm, their smiling face. You have to be enthusiastic. To imagine trying to stop someone has luggage. I have experience in the airports or the streets, and people are carrying on in a passionate mode, like you see the way some of these young drivers with their horn, and they don't want to stop for anybody. They just want to put the horn on, and I'm coming through, and okay. And in the same way, to stop someone from their fixation on what they're doing in the present, it takes a little bit of Shakti, and Krishna empowers us. Just like Srila Prabhupada, he felt most, useless, insignificant beggar, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, like as if Prabhupada, this is the mood of the devotees. They're very humble, but at the same time, he had a mission to serve his spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, and spread this message of love of Godhead throughout the Western world, throughout the whole world, throughout the universe. And how quickly is Kali Yuga progressing? We were remembering this morning, even from coming in the 70s, simple, 80s, even the 90s. And then the computers were found, then cell phones, and then internet, and then all the different medias, social medias, this media, that media. And all of a sudden, all the children who were born after like the 80s and 90s, now they're tormented because all they have is these video games, and if you don't give them the phone, they have a complete meltdown. They won't talk to you. If you're trying to talk to them while they're playing a video game, it's impossible. They're mesmerized, and it's all killing. Demons are killing this or that. And just see how previously we had Ramanreti, beautiful sand, taking parikrama, the cows are wandering here and there, the peacocks are crowing in the early morning, and there's all kinds of parrots and birds and vegetative growth, and a few simple bicycle rickshaws taking people here and there. So we think, oh, Vrindavan, now things are spoiled. This is just a slight indication of how Kali Yuga is progressing very, very quickly, and how people who don't take shelter of Bhagavad Gita as it is, Krishna's speaking, Krishna's words are non-different than the Lord. He's absolute. Krishna appeared 5,000 years ago, spoke Bhagavad Gita, instructed Arjuna liberated so many of the different personalities. Bhima calling me, I wonder why. We have all kinds of people in this world who are looking for happiness, but the real happiness comes by hearing Krishna, who is the original guru. And Srila Prabhupada is our living example. And so by hearing this Bhagavatam, we're hearing from Prabhupada, we're hearing from Krishna, especially hearing about the beautiful pastimes of the Lord, hearing about the different activities which take place on the perfectional stage. So not so much time. So we have to follow the rules and regulations, although hard. Sometimes, we're thinking, oh, well, I can follow this, but I can't follow that, and this is too much. And what does it mean to hear? We have to systematically hear more and more. Nityang Bhagavata Sevaya. So by hearing and reciting the Bhagavatam, preferably out loud, because we're engaging the tongue, the eyes, the ears, and that sound vibration has a very powerful effect. And then chanting Krishna's names, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Sit in the kirtan, chanting, and doing service. Not an idle, don't waste a moment. You can't buy a moment even if you have millions of gold coins. When the time's up, time's up. A wealthy man told the doctor, "Doctor, I'll pay you millions, but give me another 3-4 years to fulfill my plans." No. Krishna comes in the form of death, Yamaraj. And it says those who are not proper guardians or who don't do their duty properly, just like vultures, they look for the dead body and pick at it. So the vulture-like Yamaraj, Yamadutas, they come and tear apart those who are atheistic, those who are demonic. And unless one is a devotee of the Lord, he's considered the other category, atheistic and demonic. So the devotees, they want to serve Krishna, they want to worship Krishna, they want to live in the society of devotees, they want to somehow inspire each other by their devotional attempts and serving their guru. And the demonic, they want to find reasons why the service is not good, or society is not good, or devotees are not good. Matter of fact, I don't want to read anything, I don't want to chant anything, I just want to live my life the way I want to live my life. That's the destiny, that's okay. But we should feel fortunate that we're given an opportunity to be here in the holy Dham, to have the beautiful deities, Shri Gaura-Nitai, Krishna Balaram, Lalita Vishaka, Radha Shama Sundar, Srila Prabhupada, the Kirtan, the great books, the Prabhupada, his spiritual realizations, his spiritual meditations, that Krishna speaking through Srila Prabhupada to all of us to bring us back home, back to Godhead. Krishna asked the 4 Kumaras, please, your curse is okay, it's sanctioned by me, but make it soon that the giant Vijay can come back. So Krishna has great love for each and every living entity, and he wants everyone to go back home, back to Godhead. It's not that he's condemning us, it's our choice. We have that choice. So we have to make the right decision that we continue following these instructions that are given here in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Srila Prabhupada ki. So we have some comment, questions, something. You want to add something? No. You're too humble today. What's going on? Anyone have any question or comment? We have a few minutes. You can give those. Here, the microphone. The microphone's coming.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Actually, my question is that how to convince my other friends who study in university to get into this spiritual path, because they are so much into So how to convince them? I just want to know how to convince other souls and how to help them.
That's a very beautiful question, and I think we all ask the same question. You know, we all have family members. I'm sure many of the parents want to tell their children, listen, you got to read, you have to chant. And we're all trying in our own way to spread this Krishna consciousness. But every individual has their, you know, you can lead a horse. You heard the saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. You know? So we're trying to lead everyone, our family, our community, our society, our nation, the whole world. We're trying to give them the understanding that Krishna consciousness is so important, just like Srila Prabhupada was trying to convince in his own country, and people were too absorbed in, no, my son can't become a devotee, he has to go to university, he has to have a family, take care of responsibilities. People don't see the importance of taking up the devotional life. But our first concern is that we heal ourselves, meaning that we increase our hearing, we increase our chanting and our devotional practice, and by our good example, those who are fortunate will be inspired. Just like Srila Prabhupada came back with those foreigners from around the world, and in Bharat, they were impressed. They said, yes, this is our culture. We should take this up. So by setting the example ourselves to become Krishna conscious, others will, those who are fortunate, appreciate that. Those who don't and who want to remain, you know, with their blinders on, like they say, you can't force the owl to open his eyes during the sunlight. They want to stay in the darkness. You make your best endeavor, but set a good example, and Krishna will give you intelligence how to give them Krishna's mercy. There's no real, how you say, magic formula. Give them prasad. Prabhupada say, did he get prasad? So you give them prasad. And sometimes when people become inimical or philosophically challenging, he said, now chant the holy name. And they would break into kirtan, because the kirtan is really our weapon, the holy names of the Lord and the association of devotees. So we're interested in associating with the swan-like, devotee-like. We want to avoid the crows and the vultures, because that's just going to lead us into a difficult situation. One more? Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Gauda Prabhu. First of all, thank you so much for this wonderful lecture. Mataji wanted to ask you, what is the criteria of you said during your lectures, you mentioned about karmi people. So could you please advise what's the criteria of karmi people?
The criterion of karmi people are those who are not interested to hear about Krishna or to serve Krishna or chant the Lord's holy name, and they're more interested in their own sense gratification. Karmis, basically, the aham bhogi siddho aham balavan sukhi, that I'm perfect, I'm happy, I'm powerful, I don't need God, there's no God. And you know, people who act in this world without surrendering, like tadviri pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadikshyanti te jnanam jnanas tattva-darshanam. One who's intelligent will inquire submissively, who am I? What is the purpose of life? And then one approaches a saintly person, a pure devotee, if he's fortunate enough, and he follows his instruction. So karmis, they don't want to take guidance, they don't want to surrender, they're only interested in a selfish way for their own temporary enjoyment. Whereas devotee performs sacrifice and austerities to please Krishna and please Guru, because Guru and Krishna are non-different. So we have to dedicate our time and our energy to develop the godly qualities, just like a devotee, as we know we have a lot of shortcomings, but as we try to apply this hearing and chanting and service mood with enthusiasm, and then we should also understand what are the godly qualities so that we can check and balance that, anger, we should see where we need to, not that like just working, but simultaneously, spontaneously, the godly qualities will develop, but you have to be attentive, enthusiastic, and try to serve the mission of Krishna consciousness. Okay, time for chanting the holy name. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Śrīla Prabhupada ki. Hare Krishna.